Hello guys and gals. On today's episode we're going to be planting up some first early or determinate, if you're in the States, potatoes in the form of Red Dukes of York, Pentland Javelin and Swift. These are the three varieties that we're going to be planting. If you can't get those over in your neck of the woods, in your country, then just make a check. If you are over in the States, just ask for determinate potatoes. Now, determinate potatoes grow on one level, or they tend to grow around the seed potato, just above and below, around the seed potato, to a depth of about 5 or 6 inches around. And they spread the wings, so they'll spread the wings out and fill up the bucket, which we're going to be putting them in today, in that level. So we're going to be planting 2 potatoes offset, so one potato that's going to be planted at around 3 inches from the base, and then the other one that's going to be planted around 6 inches from the base, in alternate corners, which you'll see in a second. And in that way, because they do grow on that one level, or they tend to, we should be getting some results. We should be able to maximize the amount of growing medium that we're going to be using. These are deep 12-inch cut flower buckets that we get for free from the Tesco supermarket. We just ask for them and say, can we collect them, and they let us have them. Some people have had trouble with that, with getting hold of them, but we never have an issue. If you go to the smaller ones, the sort of Tesco Express ones, they're usually okay. They are around our way anyway, but that's what we're going to be growing them in. So yeah, we're going to be doing the first earlies or determinate varieties in the form of the Swift, the Pentland Javelin and the Red Dukes of York. Okay, enjoy. Okay, now, so these are the buckets, the cut flower buckets that the cut flowers are placed in when they're on display in the supermarket. Now, as you can see with these ones, there is a little bit of preparation you need to do before you can use them for growing in. They come as a solid bucket, therefore there are no holes for drainage in them. So what I've done is I've drilled in some drainage holes, as you can see there, some in the sides for side drainage, and then some at the bottom there, so you can't overwater them. Basically, you do need to let the water flow, because eventually, once the plants are established and we're past the last frost date, for the last few weeks they're going to be going outside, so you're going to be exposing them to the elements. But anyway, we've covered up the handles. There are handle holes there that we've covered up with the black duct tape on the handles, and we put the drainage holes in, 10mm drainage holes, as you can see there. There's 6 in the base and 4 around the side, so 10 in all told. That's all you need to do really, preparations wise, before you put your growing medium in there. Now, the growing medium is key as well, so we're going to look at that. We're going to be putting a loose compost mix into there, loose soil compost mix into there, with a few nutritional additives we're going to talk you through. And the potatoes, as you can see there, you've got to make sure you've got some chits on them. Now, the farmers don't do that, but what that is the holm. I call them horns, but it's not quite correct. That's a holm or something like that it's called, that comes out from the top, and basically that's where the stem grows up from the plant, and also from the base of that is where the roots come out. You get these little nodules. I just hope you can see that. These little nodules around the bottom, that's where the roots will come out. Got several eyes on that potato, and they'll become horns as well. But we're going for quantity and we're going for quality. So as I say, this one is a Red Duke of York. So the first bucket I'm going to show you the demonstration on is going to be with the Red Dukes of York. Okay, so those are our selections of the Red Dukes of York, the Swift and the Pentland Javelin. Similar size, as you can see, for each seed potato, and a similar chittage. You've got one stout chit and then the smaller ones around. We're going to see how they get on and see which does the best. These are just it's a randomised experiment, this really, but they're going to be going into these buckets. So let's get the soil medium prepared. We've got our compost We've got our blood, fish and bone. Over the years, the last few years we've been doing potatoes, we've done experiments on them every year, and we've found that the blood, fish and bone meal works the best. We get the best results from that. So let's crack on. Okay, so into those buckets we put 3 double handful scoops into each one, and that gives you a depth then of around about 3 inches. Now this is going to be our first base layer, but we haven't added any of the blood, fish and bone in as yet. All we will be doing is adding a scoop in the form of a handful like that of blood, fish and bone into each one. And then thoroughly mixing it all together, mixing it in. Now you don't have to worry about the lumps and the bumps in your mix, because the potatoes like that. They like to spread the wings, and where the tubers will grow, they'll grow in little air pockets and start to produce the tubers. So you don't want it too dense or too finely milled, if you like, the soil, because the potatoes won't thank you for that. But we're going to mix it all together. So we've got our base layer like this. Now you're thinking to yourself, if he's going to be putting 2 potatoes offset in here, you can't be doing this carry on, and you can't. But I'll show you what I mean and how we're going to be doing them. But we are going to put a spud in each one of these. That's the next step. Okay, so our first layer of seed potatoes are planted about 2 to 3 inches from the bottom. You see the snouts are still poking up towards the sky, which is what you want, give them the best chance. Now we're going to be putting 2 seed potatoes into each bucket, but we're not going to do them at the same level, because we want to maximise the amount of growing medium that's going to be taken up for the production of the potatoes. So into those we're going to have to put another layer. Now that's going to be provided by filling that bucket up 3 times with, well, not filling it, but putting 4 scoops of the compost in with another good handful of the blood, fish and bone, and then topping each bucket up, or adding to each bucket that layer. So that should give us another 4 inches above where the offset potato is. And you can see there that it's not centralised, it's slightly to one side, but we're giving it enough room around that so that the spuds can grow and hopefully fill up the area that they're in. And then when the next layer comes along, they're going to fill up that area. Okay, and then it'll be topped up to the very top. Okay, so that's our top up bucket, and that's going to be going into each one of those. So that's 4 scoops, 4 handfuls of the compost, and a handful of that. Well, that's going to be going into each one of them, and that'll produce our second layer. Okay, I got a bit carried away and completed that one, but I'll show you the next stage. There's your second layer. We're going to do the same again, 4 scoops, 4 double handfuls, mixed with the blood, fish and bone, a handful of blood, fish and bone, and that should take us then to around about here, this level, a couple of inches from the top, and then I'm just going to top it off then with just standard compost. I'm not going to put any more feed in there because it's not required. It's had 3 handfuls. These are 25 litre tubs, these, so it should just about, I should just about have enough to top them off. But yeah, I'm going to mix it in there again and top them. As you can see, they're about 6 inches below the lip level, before the level of the pots, the buckets. So it'll have 6 inches then to grow in. The same with the one down below. When they burst through the surface, this one will be bursting through first, this one. But that's okay, because the other one will carry on and it'll catch up, and it'll not take very long. The other one should burst through the surface about a week after. And both plants should do well. We have done this before and it's worked perfectly fine. Out of each bucket we're hoping to get 3.5 to 4 pounds of new potatoes out of each one of these buckets. You know, if you get £3 out of 2 seed potatoes, then you're all right, aren't you? And the compost will not be wasted after we've had the potatoes in it. It'll be put to good use. It'll either be put on the garden, or it's going to be going into into being directly used again to do leeks. Follow on with leeks, or maybe even celery. Okay. So although it says Tesco 30 there, it must be 25 litres per bucket once the handles are filled up, and that's right to the brim. So it's 25 litres per bucket to fill them up. And the compost costs around about £5. But as I say, we'll reuse them, and we're hoping to get £3 to £4 of potatoes out of each one of these. So that's that's £9 of new potatoes out of these. So yeah, it works out about the same as you'd buy in the shops, doesn't it, for organic potatoes, new potatoes. But as I say, we can reuse the compost. Now at this stage, while the potatoes are starting to get established, we're not going to water them at this stage. We're going to leave them, and then when they burst through the surface, they're going to be kept indoors, by the way, until the frost dates are passed. So we're going to keep them indoors until probably mid-May. So yeah, they've got a couple of months. They might not even make it outside these. They might even stay inside the polytunnel. I don't need to use the ground in the polytunnel for a while yet. So if we can leave them in here, then that's fine. They're probably only going to be needed back end of May into April. So they may well stay in here until we need to use the soil. So we're going to leave them in here. We're not going to water them until the horns break the surface, and when they do, then they'll get a good dousing. They'll get probably about 2 litres per bucket then. And then just test the dampness of the soil every now and again. Put your finger in the full finger's depth. If it comes out and it's damp, or it's relatively, you've got bits of soil on it, it's not dry, then it'll need to be watered again if it's dry. If not, you just keep an eye on it. So it'll probably be about every week or two, as the weather improves and the temperature rises, we're going to probably have to give it a couple of litres. So 1 6 litre watering can will be enough then to do the business, you know. As I say, once the weather improves, potentially after the frost dates, they may go outside for the last couple of weeks, but they're going to be in there now for 10 weeks. So it's going to be January, February, end of February now into March. So we'll have the whole of March, the whole of April, and mid-May is when we're going to be digging these out and tipping these over and seeing what we've got. So yeah, we're going to give it to 10 weeks. Because they're determinate, first earlies, they'll grow along that one level. So we've got the space there for 4 inches for each potato, 4 to 5 inches actually, because they're 11-inch buckets these. So 4 to 5 inches for the potatoes to grow in. Hopefully the one potato will turn into sort of 12 to 15 potatoes, fingers crossed, from each one that we planted in there. But we'll see. It's worked in the past, why not now? So all being well, we'll get a good crop out of those. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe if you like what we're doing, and if you really want to keep up with what we're doing on a episode by episode basis, hit the bell notification icon so you're notified when we do another exciting episode down on the Little Farmer's Farm with me, Guru Mafinda. Alright, catch you later, boys and girls. Happy spud growing, and God bless one and all. Take care now. Ta-da.